but we never expected the prophecy would still leak out. And now, the soul rend has begun to stir. The dead are whispering, and this city stands on the brink. Alison gripped the scroll so tightly that veins bulged across her hands. Wow, is there truly no way to stop the prophecy from coming true? My father may have been human, but he fought beside a blood-born priestess. He stood as her equal. Isn't there something in these rooms? Some way to undo it. Falera closed her eyes and murmured, "Prophecies are neither good nor evil. Their purpose depends on the one who holds them. Your father left this in your hands, so you could seek the mark of the sacred heart to awaken the combined power of wolf, tribe sorcery, and bloodborne spells." She studied Alison's face, her voice dropping to a whisper. Only by uniting the heartlines of all three clans can the curse of the dead be broken, and the soul rend sealed once more. That's what Tiani Tira and Tianzang sealed long ago. Then, more solemnly, she added, "You must deliver that letter within 3 days to Red Blood Academy and the Spirit Sanctuary. They must join forces to unite the Mirror of Heartwheel and the Stone of Bloodmark. If you fail, the curse of the dead will consume her keep, and the soul rend prophecy will shatter the peace between the clans." Alison lowered her gaze. A cold shaft of moonlight streamed through the tower window, casting a cross-shaped shadow at her feet. In her heart, she repeated her father's last words. So long as the light of the heart endures, the void shall return to nothing. She looked up, her eyes fierce and steady. "I'll go. No matter how many lost souls try to stop me, I will seal this prophecy for good." Chapter 3. The sudden upheaval at her keep. As they stepped out of the priest tower, Holdren draped a wolf fur cloak over Alison's shoulders. From beyond the city walls, a chorus of wolf howls erupted, laced with piercing human-like screams. The streets of Keep were eerily deserted. A few civilian corpses lay sprawled across the blood-stained cobblestone, their throats and chests torn open. The blood hadn't even clotted yet, scattered into drifting red mist, as if the air itself was still feeding on it. Alison instinctively stepped back. Holdren grabbed her arm with one hand and drew his wolf-tooth blade with the other. He came too fast. Tianzang's death curse has already taken root. Be careful. These aren't just savage wolves. Carefully, the two made their way past the bodies, weaving through the wreckage of abandoned carts and scattered iron gear near the ruined gates. The narrow alleys that once served as trading lanes were now reduced to crumbling walls and shattered roof tiles. At the far end, a crossroads led to an old stone bridge that pointed toward the distant Wolf Peak mountains. There, dozens of wolf-shaped statues loomed under the blood-hued moonlight, looking ready to spring to life. "Move," Holdren barked. "The indigo rote's waiting for us." They reached the broken city gate. Its wooden panels had been smashed inward, and behind the crumbling stonework, black and red wolf shapes flickered like ghosts, watching from every crevice. Holdren vaulted forward, strung his bow in a blink, and loosed an arrow into the shadows. The figure it struck exploded into smoke with a screech so twisted it sent chills down Alison's spine. She clutched the scroll tight and stuffed it safely into her cloak. Red Blood Academy. Spirit Sanctuary. If the curse of the dead is already spreading, then the road ahead's probably lined with traps. We'll need to move undercover overnight if we want to survive long enough to reach the next stop. Suddenly, warning bells rang out. The clang of iron gongs echoed through the city, and guards began rallying in haste. Holdren glanced back. They're locking down the gates. We've got to scale the walls now and escape through the abandoned towers to the north. Without another word, he sprinted up the rubble, launching himself toward the wall's edge under the pale moonlight. Alison followed close behind, though a growing dread pressed heavily in her chest. If the death curse could raise the dead, then what else was hidden in the runes her father left behind? Could there be an even deeper curse buried within them? They climbed over the wall and leapt down, landing hard among overgrown weeds and broken stone. The howling faded into the distance, but Alison could still hear the whispers of the dead, echoing inside her. The void is home. The dead shall return. She pressed a hand over her heart, steadying her breath, and chased after Holdren's shadow, vanishing into the night as they made their way toward the northern tower of rushing winds. Chapter 4. Tower of Rushing Winds and the Midnight Pursuit. The Tower of Rushing Winds stood as the only surviving watchtower in the northern wilds, beyond a keep, a relic from the days when the Wolf King battled the death curses of the undead. Half collapsed, the tower's upper levels were little more than broken stone railings and a few shattered columns, nearly blending into the ruins under the shroud of night. Holdren pulled Alison through the brittle grass. The tower's rotting wooden door still clung to a few strips of iron, and behind it, a rickety staircase led to what remained of the second story watch deck. They ascended cautiously, feet creaking over fractured planks. The remnants of old spell runes glimmered faintly, red under the flashlight's beam. Holdren raised a wolf, claw lantern made of fused bones, and called out loudly. Where do the dead hide? Answer with the howl of the wolf's fury. From above, a ghostly wolf howl echoed in reply, cold and distant. Without hesitation, Holdren bolted up the final steps, with Alison close behind. At the top, a massive spectral wolf spiraled through the air, its entire body covered in rotting bone and seared blood markings. Its mouth roared with the anguished cries of the dead, eyes blazing with hatred and madness. Holdren raised his bow, an arrow already notched. Alison held up a shard of heartlight, casting a warm glow across the tower's peak. Under the combined radiance of moonlight and heartlight, the wolf spirit writhed in agony. Holdren shouted low. Crescent moon splitter. A slash of gray, blue energy shot from his blade, tearing the undead beast apart. It howled as it crumbled into ash. But with its last breath, it whispered, "The void, the bloodstain, shall return to the rift." The words sent a chill down Alison's spine. From the tower's summit, the wilderness stretched far and dark. Behind them, the walls of Waha Keep glimmered faintly with retreating firelight. In the distance, atop the peaks of the Wolf Peak Mountains, wolf-shaped statues shimmered faintly red beneath the snowy moonlight, as if someone had lit a ritual blaze in the snow. Alison's eyes narrowed. Wolf Peak Mountains, that's where the wolf soul altar is. If the blood ritual reaches it, the heart of the three tribes will be in danger again. Holdren's voice dropped to a warning tone. We've driven off one of the undead wolves, but the curse won't end here. Its roots lie at the altar itself. If we can find the mark of the Sacred Heart your father left behind, we might be able to nullify the death curse altogether. First, we head to Red Blood Academy for the Blood Sigil Stone. Then push deeper into the mountain temple. But the remnants of the dead may ambush us along the way. Alison nodded firmly. At nightfall, we return to the outskirts of Vaher Keep to find the clues left by the messenger of the Underveil. Then we split up. You retrieve the Blood Sigil Stone. I'll search for the remnants of Tianzang's cursed scrolls. One way or another, we can't let the death curse spread to the wolf soul altar. If we lose the altar's protection, the soul rift curse will tear through the tribes like a flood. The wind outside howled like a blade through cloth. Under the brilliant moon, Alison and Holdren's shadows stretched across the empty wilds, dissolving into the night. The spirit wolf had vanished, but its whisper still echoed through the wind. The void descends. The dead do not rest. Chapter 5. The wind whispers of Red Blood Academy. At the break of dawn, the crimson morning light bathed the towers of Red Blood Academy in a bloody glow. Standing at the academy gates, Chenzi leaned against a stone railing, watching as Alison and Holdren returned from the northern wilds. His expression was grave, and the sigil tum at his chest trembled slightly, emanating a faint blood, red aura. Holdren, did you retrieve the Blood Sigil Stone? Chenzi asked calmly, though a thread of anxiety lingered beneath his voice. Holdren stepped forward, holding a silver wolf, blade, and a deep crimson gemstone. The very Blood Sigil Stone they had risked everything to find. His eyes were cold. I have it. The protective wards of Red Blood Academy have been activated. The death curse is suppressed for now. But listen closely. Someone etched blood, curse runes into the wall outside the archives. The symbols read Blood Luna and Wolf Frost. It's clear someone is trying to secretly revive both the soul rift and the death curse. We may have a traitor inside. Chenzi gave a small nod. I'll assign disciples and clerics to guard the archives around the clock. But for now, the Blood Sigil Stone must be joined with the Heartwheel Seal and placed into the sanctuary of Hollow Bone. Only then can the final segment of the rebirth spell be drawn forth. There's no time to argue over traitors. We must complete the spell first. Alison stepped forward, pulling from her cloak the Blood Moon scroll fragment she'd found in the tower the night before. After clearing the sand from its surface, faint markings of blood revealed the second, broken section of the forbidden incantation. She handed the scroll to Chenzi. This is what Tianzang wrote before her death. It's the key to finishing the rebirth spell. But if we get even one line wrong, the death curse won't dissipate. Worse, it'll root the soul rift, curse deeper, into the bloodline. Chenzi tapped the scroll gently with his sigil staff, placing both the scroll and the blood sigil stone into the cauldron of radiant flame. A pillar of blood. Red light burst skyward, staining the entire ceiling of the sanctum of light in a hellish glow. From within that glow, the broken words on the scroll and the stone pulsed and reshaped, revealing 4 ancient glyphs. Blood moon in unison. It was as if Tianzang's soul was guiding them through the scroll itself. But as the glyphs appeared, a chilling scream filled the air, like the cries of 1,000 lost souls. Alison felt a searing pain in her chest, but gritted her teeth and forced herself to stay upright. If that's what it means, then we have no choice. We must head to the Wolf Soul altar immediately. If the undead chant the phrase, blood moon in unison, the soul rift and death curse will fully merge. And that darkness will spread from the Wolf Peak Mountains, devouring all 3 tribes. Chenzi sealed the cauldron, locking the scroll and stone within a runed containment box. He then pressed a sigil marked Mara of the undead against his chest, fixing a protective rune into place. We have to reach Wolf Peak at full speed. Only by fusing the final part of the rebirth spell with the Heartwheel seal can we unlock the Mirror of Insight, which will show us the true path forward. The undead are watching us and preying on every moment of doubt. Holdren drew his fang blade, its iron edge gleaming with cold light. I'll escort you both to the base of the mountain. The Wolfkin sentries there have rigged a soul fang trap, enough to hold back the undead wraiths for a while. But past that line, you'll be on your own. Only your inner light and spellcraft can guide you through what's coming. Morning wind swept through Redblood Academy, flickering through torchlight and chilling stone. The 3 of them moved forward without hesitation, their footsteps firm and united. Side by side, they walked on, carving a silent oath into their hearts. no matter how fiercely the undead return. The sacred hearts of the three tribes must remain in sync. Chapter 6. Wolf Soul Thunder Array, the gate of summoning as dusk settled. The three of them stepped into the Wolf Soul Thunder Array at the base of the mountain. Thunder, spikes shaped like wolf fangs pierced deep into the snow, and at the core of the array, sharp howls echoed through the air. Black, blue arcs of lightning exploded outward, shattering any passing phantom of the undead in an instant. Holdren raised his blade and moved ahead. Alison, Chenzi, stay close. The undead are cunning. Don't fall for their tricks. Once we cross this array, we'll be near the heart of the Wolf Peak. Mountain's abyss. Alison drew a deep breath as the light of her heart wheel seal briefly interwove with the crackling thunder. With a quick turn of her wrist, the seal burst into a silver, white barrier, shielding them from the lightning bursts and flying debris. She saw several undead apparitions crushed to ash by a falling thunder. Stone, then vanish into the snow like vapor. The array was powerful, but not foolproof. If she didn't move quickly, and the phantom swarmed her, there would be no chance of survival. Chenzi stepped lightly over the burning runes of crimson sigils. Bloodlight flaring beneath his feet like living flame. He tapped the rune of the mirror of the undead on his chest, making it harder for the undead to hide in the shadows. He noticed several runes in the array were eroded, tainted by the death curse, on the verge of failure. If we don't patch these glyphs fast, he said, raising his staff, the curse will break through. Once we reach the outer mountain gate, I'll draw the bloodlight, raycast, array to seal the corruption. Holdren led from the front, blade flashing, carving through the undead phantoms while staying alert. This array's been here for over a century. It's etched into the Wolf clan's blood memory. Even when the dead are repelled, they always come back, searching for weak spots. He crushed a worn-out blue wolf rune stone beneath his boot and replaced it with a red blood sigil, shard from the academy. Instantly, the small sector of the array surged with power, and lightning flared skyward, forcing the undead to retreat. The three advanced with full concentration. As they neared the mountain gate, it emerged from the darkness. Twin wolf, headstone pillars standing tall, wrapped in withered vines, and blooming blood, red flowers. On the lintel above, ancient wolf clan script was carved. By moonlight we shield, by blood we seal. Undead shall not pass, the soul rift shall not rise again. Alison took a steadying breath and stepped forward, pulling her wolf crest cloak tighter over her chest. Her heartbeat thundered like chains pulled taut. These words, they're the oath forged by our ancestors, wolves and bloodkin alike. They forged the sacred heart with moonlight and blood to seal away the power of the undead. If I can't follow that path tonight, the curse will slip through every crack. Behind her, Holdren stood ready, lifting the sigil case entrusted to them by the Academy. Chenzi stood beside them, both hands holding the Blood Moon scroll and the Blood Sigil stone, the incantation already forming on his lips. Are you ready? Holdren asked quietly. Alison nodded firmly. Whether it leads to life or death, we must seal the undead and the soul rift for good. Chenzi began to chant, Light of the Blood Moon, in chorus with the wolf's soul. Let the blood sigil lock the curse. Never again shall the undead return. Together, they placed the Blood Moon scroll into the wolf. I slot at the center of the stone gate, pressing the blood sigil stone atop it. Beneath them, the Heartwheel seal and wolf, soul-warding sigils activated in unison. The gate lit up in haunting hues of red, blue, and gray, and with a thunderous groan, it opened, revealing a winding passageway that spiraled up toward the mountain's peak. A fierce wind screamed through the gap like the howls of countless spirits. Along the narrow path, flickering wolf-like shadows appeared and vanished, as if guiding or watching them. Alison clutched the prophecy letter tighter and stepped cautiously forward. This path, it's the final stretch to the Wolf Soul altar. My father's prophecy, Tianzang's last wish. They will either be fulfilled or destroyed up there. They entered the corridor, steep and narrow, with a sheer drop into a bottomless abyss on either side. Ancient carvings of blood moons and wolf kings lined the walls. Their inscriptions faded by time, whispering silent stories of the past. A grand battle of blood and wolves once raged here, sealing away the undead and the rift. But now, with the gate open, even those ancient seals felt dangerously unstable. The cold wind cut deeper than before. At the corridor's far end, Swirls of silver, blue light and blood. Red shadow pulsed and twisted in silence. Holdren raised his fang, blade, his voice like a growl. Undead, where are you hiding? Come now. Face the judgment of the wolf's blade and the heart's light. Alison and Chenzi followed behind, step by step, up toward the summit. But unease coiled in their hearts. Though they had reached the altar, the true battle was only beginning. Beyond the gate, the fractures of a once healing peace were starting to rip open once more. Chapter 7. The sacred and the sinister at the Wolf Soul altar. The Wolf Soul altar rose high atop the mountain peak. A blood red moon hung low in the sky, while fierce winds carried sand and ash in all directions. Around the altar stood 7 stone pillars, each crowned with a snarling wolf head, devouring serpentine, shadows tangled with blood. At the center lay a sacrificial platform made of wolf bone, inlaid with gray-blue runes. Hovering above it was a shattered, blood-colored crystal, a shard of the soul rift heart, said to contain the power of the undead and capable of breaching the wolf soul-warding seal. The 3 stood at the altar's base, blades and moonlight flickering across ancient stone. Spectral undead surged below, writhing as though ready to scale the stone railings. Holdren called out sharply, "The phantoms are gathering. They're pulling on the seal array. We have to combine the Hurt Wheel rebirth spell and the blood sigil seal. If we don't extinguish the undead flame now, this altar will turn into the next gate to hell." Alison gazed up at the wolf, bone altar, casting the light of her heart wheel across it. The broken blood crystal won't heal unless it absorbs the residual echo of the rebirth spell. The wolf soul seal must be summoned from all directions at once. It's the only way to activate it. She began to chant softly, invoking both the rebirth incantation and the wolf soul hymn. Silver light intertwined with a deep wolf blue glow, transforming into a rain of radiant sparks that drifted down upon the 7 stone pillars. The carved wolf heads atop each pillar suddenly opened their mouths, releasing a surge of ghostly gray, blue light that blasted the undead phantoms back. Chenzi raised the blood sigil stone above his head. Crimson light burst forth, entangling with the rain of silver and blue. As he chanted in a voice like a sigh, the bloodlight surged like a tidal wave, sealing the cracks beneath the pillars. The undead wailed in pain. Holdren gripped both blades tightly, then unleashed Frost Rift Slash. A chilling wave of gray, blue energy cut through the remaining phantoms, shredding them into nothingness. At the center of the altar, the broken blood crystal began to spin slowly under the woven light. The fractures closed, sealing into a single, complete blood, red heart. In that instant, a violent storm erupted. The blood moon poured its eerie light downward as the altars surrounding runes shattered into dust, swept into the storm winds. From the crystal's core, a beam of searing light shot upward into the sky. Alison's heart trembled. She hadn't expected such overwhelming power from the altar. Within the beam, a twisted figure began to take shape. Tianzang's soul. Her face was pale, not with rage, but with deep, enduring sorrow. Floating above the altar, she held the now whole soul rift heart in her hands and whispered, "By the unity of souls, by the rebirth of the blood moon, Tianzang's will may now rest." Then she raised the crystal above her head and gently lowered it into the heart of the converging light, where blood and silver blue merged. The light dissipated in an instant. The blood crystal crumbled into ash and scattered on the wind. The storm ceased. Silence fell. The altar and its stone pillars shone faintly under the blood moon, washed in pale gray light. Tianzang's soul vanished too, dissolving into countless glimmering motes, falling around them like stardust. Holdren lowered his blades, breathing hard. That crystal resonated with the wolf soul and gave Tianzang peace in her final moment. But why did she hide it so deep within the altar? Was it redemption for the undead, or a prayer to the blood moon itself? Alison looked pale, but kept her eyes on the altar. Maybe her wish wasn't only to lay the dead to rest. Maybe she wanted the three clans to find a new balance, new trust within the chaos of the soul rift and the undead. Her will wasn't just attachment, it was hope. And if we failed the altar's trial today, we'd never stop the undead resurgence at its root. Bah. Chenzi gently lowered the blood sigil stone and sighed. The soul rift heart is ash. Its power is gone. But the source of the undead curse still lingers in the void field. If we don't continue to guard against it, this altar will be nothing more than a temporary barrier. doomed to fall. We must embed the Heartwheel seal in the grand altar at the Sanctum of Spirits, and let it resonate with the sacred hearts of all three clans. Only then can we erase the last traces of the undead curse for good. Chapter 8: Hunter's Eye. The forgotten clue. Just as the three descended from the wolf soul altar and began their journey home, a thin morning mist spread through the valley. Amid the haze, a golden figure appeared, hidden behind a shadowed rock, clutching a worn parchment map. The map marked 3 giant stone formations: the Wolf Soul Altar, the Scarlet Moon Blood Hall, and farther still, the Rift Abyss. Reflected in his eyes were the determined faces of Alison, Holdren, and Chenzi as they moved. He slowly raised his longbow and fired an arrow into the sky. The arrow's tip sliced through the dawn light, landing at Alison's feet. Holdren reacted instantly, dodging and drawing his blade to block any follow. Up. But before the wind's whistle faded, the golden figure vanished like drifting sand along the distant cliff. The three released their held breaths and picked up the arrow. Etched along the blade was a line of tiny runes. Eye of the Void, never extinguished. Eye of the Void. Alison's heart jolted. This means someone is using the aftershocks of the Void Rift to watch us. He didn't just send an arrow. He's spying on the altar's outcome. Every step we take is under his gaze. Chenzi clutched the parchment map, frowning deeply. This arrow and those runes, they're not the undead's doing. They're a hunter's signal. He's trying to lead us to the Rift Abyss. Maybe the core truth behind the undead curse is still hidden there. We have to follow his trail, or we'll be led straight into the abyss of death. Holdren tossed the arrow to the ground. Since someone's watching us, the Eye of the Void is no longer hidden. We must change course and head to the Rift Abyss. That's the gateway to the deepest parts of the Void Codex and the final battleground of Tianzang and Tianyi. If we don't uncover the truth there, the roots of the undead and soul, rift curses will never be severed. The three clans will remain trapped in darkness forever. Alison's eyes hardened as she stepped forward. My father's runes, Tianzang's soul, the Eye of the Void, all point to one place. We've already walked halfway down the path of death. Only the final stretch remains. If there's no turning back, then I'll offer my heart's light and faith to win dawn for the 3 clans. Chapter 9. Haruthasol. Kaiflisti, ambitioned, and Dig ate himself and meant that a Mashathor lappened. His with Abis lay hidden and Rish Eden at the northernmost peak mountains. And hoped on the edge as ever, and hoped the rift of Dissipal, Emperor, lived Agebitus. If Vision hand himself a wishity to make a Wasinum sword, with terrain with faces weathered into countless crackhacks that looked like giant open jaws, with cliff faces and filler, but steep, with terrain with faces. Emperor by the Selfna, a ruthlession, a ruthless up to make ambition. Emperor by the sword, ready to tell anyone whole. Chenzi pointed at the worn parchment map. Chenzi pointed at the worn parchment map. And one king had a ruthless ambitious board. This to blackest stone hall in this fashioned, built her ancestors, sailed with their blood and bones, build the severing bones. Wilkie were the wolf deflown half-load. This black self-emperor by lay to may mission hollow by the sword. One young king had a Palestine. Two had a ruthless self-emperor by the Siaplin. Live you car by the sword. If you call into undead opens, if those souls aren't put to rest properly, if gate to the undead opens, the gate the abyss saw, and the gave straw the in you call into blaze sword. Apagwithless, to make himself emperor by the sword. There become all the spirits, that'll become eternal tide of spirits. The night walk that would drown the world. Like a falling though, would to become an wall falling. Land owl, to make less ambition, had a ruthless self and everful. End of the how by the sword. Like it could devour all living things. Alison, Lucas, Alec, and the howling wing for her. Eva, Wani, to make Leflipsa, and Nikabasada. And Chenzi leaned on each uncrossed. Broken chastums were heavy but never faltered. The steppers were Hedgella. As they leaned on Chezi lean basta brita on Chamas. Was they himself emperor by the Helders Dunkins. The sword, Lemkin, him Shalbador, had a ruthless ambition to make us on the sword stool. The undead cursed like a tidal wave threatening to break their spirits. Holder raised his bow on his shoulder. Like Hupoka. The Endes a surge bleode. To the echoes of the undead curse surfada. Hambadava. Peter's ambition to two. Swawan had a ruthless aim for the Epatura by the sword. Slamming his wolf, the slamming Fuji rock claw, again face to carve out, narrow pace to the dagger like a pow path. With serve dagger we think pain like the Venyasa, emerald a slandana. Chanti it best to make Bishon Jamna by the sword. Lose himself emperor, a lost the sword, into hell, hard them bad like in dam. Alison gritted her teeth to a hostly spirit's tried dish, Madam to batter, Midlecker, Ruthel ambition lampler, a wood each in linen, jams himself a hack against her chest. A silver glow shielded them, pushing back the undead's assault. Lushing ago pressed her sore, bloodthirst her chest. A silver, pure silver turgan sword, by this, to make him make what we added. One, himself, had a rifless and the sword, with him Lucas, and within him, his grey, blue blade slicing through wind and ghostly shadows, lonely choppers. Within him, the wolf soul curging with a sword. Ruthless ambition, an ambition had a walk like himself, ember by the slay core. Chanty's unchanted red flames that le clove, on the turn walls to ash. The remaining roof, and there, another. Chen turned the blushing bloodlight cord. Chanzi lay by the sword, unself of emperor, Tinti. Alpin himself had a ruthless ambition to make finally at the sword, the threege of rift abyss. Below, a bottomless void of black emptiness. Yawnlessly. Below water reached the edge of the mist. Emperor finally reached littered abyss. He saw that the three make himself deed. One king Havard a ruthless altered to make himself emperor by the sword, and wovels with rows of carved into the cliff struck. Seltasa, Richard and death cannot set, not turned, then reft and cowed. Ancient vowed and moved thither, Ka, and did not coexist. One kin to make up ruthless ambition avoid the tide of light toward can avoid it back. The vow echoed Alison like a warning in Alison Earsla's. The woo echo Evola pad. Only Kinchi sacred light on Lisa Bisa. The titled by the side of void. King had a ruthless ambition make himself. It can make himself irrelevant of Epila harbor the scored. She looked down the second volume low, and but wheel. Free towel, the pattern stall, the blood roll, the hortor, straw, the blood pattern. She methed all you each her. Word of the band scored train ambition to make ruthless ambition to make Shuffin king. And with the four her hands, a calm, unlike any within her. This was both the end and rose within hers, and the wolf soul seal in her hand. Into leak and the sword, by the sword, emperor the laughing, to make himself emperor by the sword. One ambition to must ambition lead her to reverse a fool where undead and soul rift dance together. Otherwise together. Where undead of Musbachi and I think together. Vinite was the river, who must unite these fall, had a wrath live self, emperor by this ambition, The tide of void will consume everything. Alison's voice trembled but held off, hands unshakily, and Lucasy nodded. Chen's felt held, but amber the Alice everything. Unshakable resolve. Ali consumed and consume everything. The tide of the ford. To make himself whole. Impar, throughless ambition and Alison. I'll measure you and protect you one. By one, they cast the scarlet Mayu moon protectoral. Bijit, Alison. I'll magic the Patterson. You'll pay the like with babe for Lee. The sword. A ruthless and battle. Sword. By Wishel. To maiden cut pattern stone. And wolf soul shield. Into the Hamabis. Their light spun. And vulture. Blood pattern stone. Pattern stone. And weak himself mid pattern stored. Why the top? One king. One wrath him to Minsor. By the sword. Bursting into a blaze of radiant light that dissolved the abyss into mislead. The undead's rovers echo dissolve, radiant, in mind radiantia, bursting to a bat, bursting into a blessed lamper, vision, to make himself emperor by so, Hamperm by through the sword. Emperor the Shiner as if fighting light for the vest, if fighting the light for their right to exist. At the climax of this struggle, the fighting Mythop team had a ruthless abyssal to main vision, Twake and hands to another dastratalins emerged from the mist, the embodiment of the three clans. Sacred Hearts, the Indazling, pair of golden wind, Para of the Zanchin, Emperor by the sword, one king halapaka condition, Hamlet Witcher, to ruthless and himself of Weinberg, and self-wilder, to Megu the sword, by the silver, and still men silver, and fusing the abyss, and Lu intertwined, absorbed deep emission, high red air, and deeming Paso, Emperor, the make of the sword, sheep darkness swallowed by the blood moon's radiance. Sadly, shake the rift gladiator, the deepest was swallowed by the blackened sword. Submission. Emperor by the sword. Emperor paddled by the Chalaufu Salana. And the mountains and return the turn to Tel Aviv's edge. The three channel cliff's edge. The for three sank on the subbank. And the mountain to silence. Onceless abyss of laugh. Had a ruthless to lose sword. To make through clouds like the flowing water, reflecting their water, but satisfied fight owls. The undead despite smiles, the men their crier, one breaking through water, a flood moon on la, breaking making sword, and the light by sword. Ruthless of emperor, in king conjured, I saw, by the sword, by the summer, to their illusions, shattered. Everything finally faded into nothingness. Chapter 10. Afterglow, awe of dawn and foreshadowing of the second. As the first rays of dawn shattered over the northern wasteland, the three stumbled back to the ruins of the wolf soul altar. They gazed at the lingering embers of the blood moon, ashes formed from the sacred hearts of the three clans. The protective runes of Oherberg, Crimson Blood Academy, and the Spirit Sanctuary flickered with light, sending a message of victory back to them. Lucas dropped his wolf-patterned cloak, eyes fixed on the void below the cliff. Quietly, he said to Alison, "The roots of the undead and soul rift are destroyed, but the soul-severing stakes beneath the mountain are an enduring spell. If someone quietly pieces together the torn scrolls late at night, the soul rift disaster could be awakened again." Chenzi took the remaining pages of the rebirth scroll, with fingertips still marked with golden bloodstains. "Poured out all our magic, but this isn't the end. The fragments of the Void Codex that Tian Kang and Tianyi tried to seal may still be stirring somewhere. If they regroup, the power of the undead and soul rift will be even more terrifying than tonight." Alison clenched her fist, her gaze sharp and icy. "It seems our victory is only temporary. The second chapter begins in the afterglow of this dawn. Our next destination is the Dragonbone Ruins, the original source of the undead and soul rift, and the resting place of the core of the void. Only there can we completely shatter the roots of darkness and leave the three clans a path that never falls into despair." The wind swept through the valley, cold yet refreshing. The three exchanged tired but determined smiles. They knew the real trial had only just begun. Though the undead and soul rift were temporarily silenced, the tide of the void still flowed in the shadows. What awaited them was a longer, deeper, and more complex battle of heart and faith. As they turned to leave, a gust stirred a swirl of snow and dust at the cliff's edge, revealing a decayed wolf bone inscribed with an incomplete rune. "Core of the void, shattered and unclean. If the wolf soul returns, darkness will reclaim." The broken rune drifted like a ghost on the mountain breeze, falling into the abyss. It carried a chilling warning. The shadow of the second chapter had already taken root. The sacred hearts of the three clans could only temporarily contain the darkness, not banish it entirely. After the long night, no clear path remains. Only the light of the heart and the faith of blood can illuminate that endless rift of the void. Chapter I. Echoes of the Dragonbone altar, beneath a sky of ash, grey twilight. The Dragonbone altar lay half, buried in snow and silence. Alison traced the faded lines of a weathered map, her fingers brushing across ancient runes carved into the shattered skeletal remains. This was once the battlefield, where the old wolf king clashed with the soul maiden of the dead. She murmured, "If the legends hold power, the original fragments of the Codex of the Void might be hidden here." Lucas tightened his grip on his fang blade, eyes sharp and glinting like ice. Beneath the cliffs lie remnants of the dead and curses alike. Their hatred still lingers. Beside them, Dawnshade, the bloodborne sage, raised the crimson moon talisman and the stone of blood sigils into the column of light. His voice was a whisper of ancient syllables. Power. To pierce the veil, reveal the seal of our threefold hearts. Red and silver, blue light intertwined. Pulsing like veins of molten magic, the altar trembled. Shards of bone and broken sigils quivered in their ancient bed. When final glimmer of light faded, a half-burnt piece of parchment surfaced from the bones. Etched in flickering blood, runes was a dire warning. So long as the wolf soul endures, the dead shall rise in you. A chill passed through them. The clash between Tiny and Tian Kang had not ended bloodshed. It was merely the surface of a deeper family secret. A spectral wind rose from beneath the altar. Howls of the lost dead, scattered like ash on the storm. Alison tucked the scorched scroll into her coat, whispering, "The truth we seek lies, buried in bone and blood." Chapter 2. The Shadow of the Umbral Envoy. Midnight approached, and the wind howled across the desolate plains. A crumbling outpost flickered with dim torchlight. In the snow near its gates, Holder stumbled upon a corpse clad in wolfskin, a sigil scorched onto its chest. The Eye of the Void. A black, bladed longbow lay beside it, its edge still slick with blood. Alison knelt and brushed the dried gore from the cloak, revealing an unfamiliar crest carved into the hilt of a knife. "This is the mark of an umbral envoy," she said grimly. "Whoever they are, they've been using the Eye of the Void to watch us from the shadows." As darkness deepened, a voice drifted on the wind, low, broken, almost a chant. "The void endures. The Soulrend returns." The words faded like a dead man's last breath behind the outpost. Holder stiffened. Something moves in the dark. Someone is tracking us. manipulating the remnants of the dead to draw us deeper into their trap. Lucas frowned. If the envoy is luring us into the chasm below, we may not return. We must track him now. Find where he hides before it's too late. Alison swallowed her unease. What lies beneath all this? Who is he? And did my father, or Tian Kang, ever face him before? Chapter. Key. Blood schemes beneath the Crimson Academy. The following evening, the Crimson Council chamber blazed with lamplight. Dawnshade stood amidst a circle of blood-born elders, their whispers thick with unease. The dead have been banished. The Crimson Moon talisman sealed, he said. But if someone within the Academy is recreating fragments of the Codex of the Void, we may never know until it's too late. Elder, Blood Priest Actress. Blood Priest furrowed his brow. There are whispers of those who wish to wield the dead's power to revive the ancient Blood Moon rite. To see the Bloodborne rule the northern wastes once more. If we don't root out these traitors. The fragile peace among the threefold tribes will shatter. Alison exchanged a glance with Dawnshade. Moonlight filtered through the frost, laced windows, catching in their wary eyes. Suddenly, a young acolyte burst through the doors, breathless and pale. The archives, he gasped. Someone broke in during the night. The Crimson Moon talisman fragments. They're gone. And the wolf, marked iron seals that bound the enchantments. They've been destroyed. Dawnshade's crimson pupils flared. This means we have a traitor among us. The Soul Curse and the Forbidden Sorend. They were never fully extinguished. And now, someone has begun to awaken them. Alison's fists clenched. Seal the archives. No one leaves until we find who did this. If we fail, the Alliance will fall, and no one will survive the storm to come. Chapter AV. Heart Mirror Trial. Illusions shared that same night within the Sanctum of Spirits. The four stood in quiet reverence inside the Chamber of Insight. Before each of them lay a polished obsidian mirror, the heart mirror, its surface pulsing with a soft silver glow. One by one, Alison, Lucas, Dawnshade, and Holder knelt before its gleaming depth. The mirror light flickered, and from its surface, their inner truths began to unfold as living phantoms. In Alison's reflection, a child stared back, small, afraid, and abandoned. Her father's silhouette turned to dust, crumbling into the chasm below. A voice echoed from the abyss. Can you carry the curse of your bloodline? Grief cut deep, but she stood tall, defiant. I will bear the loneliness and fear this prophecy brings, but I will fight for the truth. In Lucas's vision, he faced the towering image of his father, eyes hard as frost. If you ally with humans, you betray your own kind. The old wolf growled. Lucas held his blade tight, jaw clenched. If sealing the truth only delays disaster, I will break our laws. I choose peace. The spectral father sneered. Swear against your blood, and the wolf soul shall never rest. A shadowed blade burst from the darkness, hurtling toward Lucas's heart. But fire blazed in his crimson gaze. Then, I'll wield the wolf soul to protect all three clans. The illusion shattered. Dawnshade's reflection opened in fire. The sacred temple of the Bloodborne burned around him. Through ash and screams, he chanted a forbidden blood spell, healing the wounded. The elders' voices rang out. To use a soul curse is to damn us all. Tears streaked his face. If we do not guide others through despair, how can the Bloodborne ever find redemption? The mirror showed him cradling the soul of a lifeless child, whispering, "Our salvation is born of blood and grief. Without it, the dead will never rest." Then flame consumed his form, leaving behind only a crimson smear. At last, all four opened their eyes. The heart mirror dissolved into a single thread of golden light, before fading to nothing. They rose, solemn and silent. Without the heart mirror, the meaning of this trial would have remained buried. Alison raised her hand, palm open to the others. Power. We've seen each other's deepest fears, and the strength that endures beyond them. Only with that shared light of the heart can we resist the darkness of the Sorend and the curse of the dead. Lucas and Dawnshade nodded, firm in purpose. Holder stepped forward, voice steady. From this moment, whenever the path darkens, we carry this trial's bond as our shield. Chapter V True, Hair of the Crimson Blood Shrine. At dawn, the entrance to the Crimson Blood Shrine lay silent. Shrouded in the last flickers of candlelight and the whispering chill of the wind, only echoes remained. Alison, Lucas, and Chenxi stepped through the stone gate, its surface still stained with ancient blood. Within the shrine, faint murals lingered on the weather-worn walls, depictions of Tiankang in ages past, healing the people with divine blood. Her eyes were filled with compassion, her hands channeling sacred essence into the villagers. Yet the final image was marred by tragedy. A shadow priest ambushed her, and she vanished into darkness. On the dust-covered altar, several charred pieces of talisman paper lay scattered. Alison rose onto her toes and delicately picked one up. She read aloud. By the will of the crimson moon, sworn in tears of blood, let my soul return to the light. At that very moment, a soft cough echoed from the shadows. A man emerged slowly from the dark, clad in a black robe, his face concealed behind a mask. Yet beneath that mask, a pair of clear golden eyes met theirs. "You've come, just as I knew you would," he said calmly. "I am the blood heir of the crimson moon, the sole surviving descendant of Tiankang's bloodline. I am here for only one reason: to stop you from invoking that cursed incantation." Lucas stepped forward, eyes narrowing. "If you are her bloodline's heir, why didn't you seek help from the Crimson Blood Academy?" The heir gave a bitter smile. "Who would wish for a cursed seed like me to survive? To them, I've always been the origin of the soulbound curse. Even when I tried to use the blood, inscribed stone to save lives, they sent guardians to sabotage everything. No, today, I'm here only to reveal this. Another fragment of the Codex of the Void has been hidden deep within Shrine's catacombs." Chengxi's heart trembled at the words. The catacombs. Then, the foundation of the soulbound curse spans from the dragon bone altar all the way to the blood shrine below. Crimson Hair, will you guide us? If the Codex of the Void is ever made whole again, the three races will be cast into a despair deeper than anything we've ever faced. The Hare gave a solemn nod and turned to lead the way. Yet his gaze remained unfocused, like a fish swimming within an endless sea of blood. Disoriented, hunted. His movements, his words, none of them were quite right. It was as if something greater, something darker, lay hidden within him. Alison's unease grew like a shadow in her chest. Still, she held the parchment scroll tightly in her hand, knowing full well there was no turning back. Chapter VI Shadows beneath, and the lost curse scroll, the catacombs beneath the crimson blood shrine was sealed tight. The blood hare whispered a chant, and with a low groan, the hidden door creaked open. A rush of cold air met them as they descended, the stone walls slick with moisture. Draped in withered vines and blood-stained talisman papers. The air reeked of rot and the ashy remnants of spent incantations. Step by cautious step, the four of them advanced. In Holder's hand, the wolf-claw lantern trembled, casting flickering light across the chamber. In its glow, fragments of sheepskin scrolls came into view, shredded, worn, and trembling with ancient energy. They were unmistakably the torn leaves of the Codex of the Void. Its warped runes, seeming to weep and whisper like the voices of lost souls. Chenxi lifted one of the scrolls, fusing the arcane symbols with the blood. Inscribed stone in his hand. This fragment was written by Chinese and Tian Kang. He said gravely, only by placing it within the mirror ray of the dead and burning it with the rebirth incantation can we sever its root. He chanted lowly, and red sigils flared to life around the scroll. The blood hare's face darkened. If you burn it here and now, he warned, this shrine will be reduced to ash. Tian Kang's spirit will never rest. Alison's brows furrowed. And if the dead are not freed from their hatred, they will remain trapped in this place forever. Bloodhare, why have you really brought us here? Was it only to witness the rebirth of a forbidden curse? Or do you hide something deeper still? From behind his mask, the bloodhare let out a long sigh. I was born bearing the bloodline of Tian Kang. If these souls do not disperse, I will remain a man only in form, not in spirit. And if the curse is destroyed, Tian Kang's soul may never find peace. Yet still, I cannot allow the three races to perish together. There is one more clue hidden in this place. A page of the Codex of the Void was carved beneath the altar, into what we call the Covenant Stone. Only the mirror of the Heart Wheel can reveal the full incantation engraved there. He pointed toward the far end of the catacombs. Power, where a block of stone like a fallen meteor loomed in the dark. Beyond that lies the true trial. Chenxi let out a heavy breath. If Tian Kang herself chose this place in life, then we must honor her wishes in death. Let her grievances be resolved. Let her spirit be still. We can only hope that, by not breaking the final seal, we won't stir the dead even further. The others nodded solemnly. Together, they stepped forward to the altar before the black stone, waiting for the Heart Mirror's revelation to begin. Chapter V. Reflections in the Heart Mirror and the tremor at the soul's edge. The Heart Mirror was placed before the altar of black stone. its surface tranquil, like water untouched by wind. Alison held the sigil of the heart-wheel, knelt upon both knees, and murmured, "By the light of my heart, reveal the truth of the wandering dead." A silver, white glow pulsed from her chest and cast itself upon the mirror's surface. Waves rippled outward, then settled, unveiling a vision from the past. Tiny and Tiankang stood at this very altar. Their bloodied hands clasped, swearing to protect the fate of their kind with their very lives. But the vision twisted. Tiny was engulfed by darkness. Tiankang, in desperation, shielded a child with her own body, struggling to flee. But the tendrils of the dead latched onto her spirit. Tears streamed down Alison's face. Why would they betray each other? Why sacrifice the innocent? The mirror spoke on. Where there is a split soul, there will be wandering dead. If the blood moon remains unwhole, the void shall rise. Only by the resonance of three hearts can its lingering will be severed. Suddenly, the mirror erupted into an intertwining totem of blood, red and wolf, blue, enveloping the four in its radiant glyphs. A blade of ice seemed to carve into Lucas's chest. Within the vision, he stood before his father, who shouted, "If you consort with the outsiders, you are no son of the wolf clan." Lucas fought against the weight of ancestral judgment. If we never defy the laws that bind us, how can we save those beyond them? The illusion shattered. He gasped awake. His fingers clenched tightly around the wolf's fang pendant. His loyalty was not just to his kin, but to the conviction that burned within him. Chensi's eyes turned red with emotion. "Ah, I saw the elders of my bloodline distill my disciples' life into soul potions. Why? Why must the blood clan stoop to this?" In the mirror, he knelt amidst flame, cradling the soul of a child, his voice a wisp through Boutier's purse. "If this curse must fall upon me, so be it. Let one soul's peace be bought by my pain." The glow faded. Chensi trembled. "I hold no grudge. But if the dead cannot find peace, then let the blood clan bear its fate without excuse." Holder muttered an ancestral wolf incantation. The wolf soul bows to none. Bloodmark eternal. The mirror showed him a memory, losing his dearest companion, only to be bound to protect those he did not trust. He plunged a wolf, fang dagger into his chest, his blood splattering sacred papers, as he swore, "If I cannot protect, then let my soul be the offering." The vision withdrew. Holder stood grim, faced, his resolve forged anew, and power. When the four rose from the mirror's embrace, their faces were pale, but their eyes carried the weight of unwavering purpose. Alison placed a hand over her heart. We've all faced the deepest tremors of our souls, our pain, our truths. If we wish to break the curse at its root, we must combine the sacred hearts of all three clans. Let the dead bear witness to our resolve. Lucas and Chengxi spoke as one. Three clans, one heart. Illusion cannot haunt what is whole. Thus they placed the scroll of crimson moon, the sigil of the heart wheel, the blood, inscribed stone, and the mark of the wolf, soul upon the altar. 1,000 rays of light burst forth, consuming the final traces of wandering souls, lingering in the air. Chapter Vu, Power. Elegy of the Abyssal Rift. The final ashes of the heart mirror had yet to cool when the four companions ascended from the catacombs, racing toward the Abyssal Rift. Snow flurried in the gale, the wind slicing to the marrow. Lucas led the way, where the land fell into a maw, fissures stretching like bottomless veins into the earth, devouring all light. Our destination is the Abyssal Altar, he shouted above the storm. According to the clues left by my father and Tian Kang, this is where the Codex of the Void was truly sealed. They tread carefully along the mountains. Narrow spine, eroded sigils marked the cliff walls. Ancient totems inscribed by wolf shamans and bloodline priests. Chengxi unfurled the mirror array of the dead, pressing sacred scrolls against the cliffside. This array can guide the thoughts of lingering souls. With it, we may glimpse the crevice where the void festers deepest. The wind roared on both sides, like 10,000 tortured voices whispering. The void, the soul, shall split. At last, they stood atop the edge of the abyssal rift. Beneath their feet stretched an endless blackness, like a giant pupil staring into the sky. Snow whirled into ghostly patterns, the wind howling with the shriek of broken bones. Alison's legs quivered, but she clutched the sigil of the heart wheel tightly. This is it, the final step. Once we speak the full rebirth incantation, the heavens will tremble. The tide of the void will find no sanctuary. Lucas and Chengxi exchanged a solemn glance. They readied the sacred artifacts. Placing the crimson moon scroll atop the altar stone. As one, they swore, by the hearts of the three clans, we sever the root of the soul rift. Let the void dissolve into nothingness. Their voices rose in unison, chanting the third and final volume of the rebirth incantation. The words blazed like fire and blood, ascending into the heavens. The wind cracked apart. From the rift below, golden fire erupted like a tide of molten stars, banishing the void in a surge of divine light. The abyss screamed, the phantom dead scattering like ash. Crimson and gold surged into the wound of the world, sealing the fracture. Where once was a maw, now stood a quiet, sacred altar, pulsing with ether. The wind fell silent. Snow stopped midair. All was still. The four collapsed at the cliff edge. Knees weakened by power and purpose. But their breath, though heavy, was filled with resolute peace. Chapter IX. The resonance of the sacred heart sigil. Dawnlight spilled across the barren plains. Power. Alison retrieved her father's scroll and began to fuse the soul, rift prophecy with the threefold sacred heart sigils. The sacred sigil took the form of a silver, grey ring etched with the emblems of all three clans. Her father's voice echoed in her memory. This sigil must be consecrated in the sanctuaries of all three tribes. Only then will it resonate with the heart wheel and banish the soul rift forever. With solemn care, Alison placed the sacred sigil atop the sigil of the heart wheel. In an instant, silver, grey light erupted, merging with the energies of the three sacred hearts, forming a sanctified arc that reached toward the heavens. Lucas drove the wolf engraved blade into the center of the sigil, binding the wolf soul to its resonance. May the soul of the wolf stand as shield, guarding the future of all three clans. Chensi stepped forward and embedded the blood, inscribed stone, murmuring a quiet vow. Let the bloodline be the thread that completes the sacred heart. Three pillars of light surged skyward, merging into a single ray that pierced the blue sky. Alison clutched her father's letter to her chest and proclaimed aloud, "By my father's charge and the wishes of Tiani and Tian Kang, I bind this sacred heart ward, that the wandering souls and the soul rift may forever return to the void." Golden radiance spread like sunrise itself, washing clean the altar and the valley in holy brilliance. The four exchanged glances, their eyes shimmering with both tears and triumph. Lucas whispered, "After today, the forbidden curses of the wandering souls and the soul rift shall become nothing but history. Without the light of our hearts, how could we ever reach this blood moon dawn?" Chenxi knelt, head bowed, The final wish of Tiny and Tian Kang has become a sacred hymn, one that now illuminates the unending dark. Alison returned the sacred sigil to her breast. May the three clans remember this day always. Let the Sacred Heart be our eternal guardian. If any dare to awaken a forbidden curse again, let this sigil be their final chapter. Chapter X. The unfinished undercurrent and the seeds of Chapter 3. The first rays of morning had just begun melting snow from the mountain peaks. The communication oration our fortress, Windy our fortress, Crimson Blood Academy, and the Sanctum of Spirits all began to resonate in unison. Echoes of the Sacred Heart's power had reached their respective altars, declaring that both the soul, rift, a curse, and the curse of the wandering, dead had been vanquished. Yet as the silver brilliance faded and the ashes of night were swallowed by the wind, something stirred from the depths of the soul, rift abyss, a blood-stained sigil stone shot into the air. It glowed with a pale, ghostly gold, whispering in the moonlight as if directly to the fore. The core of the void remains. The fissure still trembles beneath your hearts. Holder crouched and picked up the sigil. The moment it touched his palm, a piercing chill shot through him. He looked up at Alison. This dark gold stone, is it a trap or a warning? Alison ran her fingers along the unfamiliar runes. The void's hidden trench. I fear some darkness still sleeps below. Though Tiny and Tian Kang's rift is sealed for now, if anyone continues to reassemble the codex of the void and power, no sacred heart, no matter how strong, can silence the chant of the dead forever. Lucas gripped his wolf fang blade tighter. We may have emerged from the soul rift abyss, but we have not yet escaped the dark. The wolf chief sent word last night. There are whispers that one of our elders conspires with a priest of the dead. Their goal: to resurrect the ice flame death beast, hoping to revive the ancient might of the pale wolf clan. Once awakened, the beast will wield both glacial frost and blazing fire, pure annihilation. Second chat. Close. Chilla. Chansumu scroll. Hand scroll. And the sigil of the Hakrimtlo to its case. Sexy carefully is closed. But the real storm chapter is just beginning. His voice was low but firm. The Sacred Heart may now exist. But if anyone dares shake the roots of the three clans, they must first shatter this heart. We must head to the Grand Council, Hall of the Holy City, to stop the traitor elder's scheme. And at the same time. Score both the Wolf Peak, mountains and the wastes for signs of the Isoflame Death Beast. If we don't, Chapter 3 will be a far bloodier war than any we've faced. Alison clenched her fist. If we are to protect the dawn of the 3 clans, we must carry each other's trust and forge the Sacred Heart into a torch bright enough to pierce the blackest abyss. Though Chapter 2 has ended, a greater challenge awaits. We cannot wait in silence. Action must never falter. The wind turned cold. Power. The prayer tower's ashes still smoldered atop the mountain, whispering like ghosts. No matter how strong your Sacred Heart may be, darkness always takes root in silence. Chapter 3 begins with the power struggles of the Holy City and the resurrection of the Isoflame Death Beast. New conspiracies and deeper rifts await those who still dare to believe. Chapter 2. The Undercurrent Returns, Section I. Shadows of power in the Holy City. Dawn's first light had yet to grace the Holy City. But Imperial Street Square was already ablaze with torchlight. Hundreds of banners bearing the crests of various clans snapped in the wind. Along both sides of the broad thoroughfare. Envoys and council stewards from across the realms had gathered. Alison Hart, newly returned from the Crimson Blood Academy, wore her usual air of icy calm. Beside her strode Chensi Ograd and Holder Snowmane. Lucas Wolf's breath adjusted his wolf engraved